ready to get a jump start on your holiday shopping? Get out those lists and head on over to deadiceondeck.com. Starting now until December 6th, get 10% off your entire order of $35 or more with code BA on Black Friday.
Howdy, gang, and soon I'm going to be adding Chris on here. I may sound out of breath and a little frazzled, but I have been sleepy all day long, and I didn't get jack done today. And I was telling Chris that, too. I said I had a ton of things that I was going to do today and didn't get a thing done. So I'm a day late and a dollar short once again on this. But I hope Mentallect's able to join us, because this is going to be the watch along for Hell House LLC, a very creepy, in my opinion, found footage type of film. If you don't own a copy of this, which I'm considering seeing if I can buy a copy of at least this first one, because I liked it so much. I just watched it on Shudder and got hooked on it and watched all the other ones after it. So you can watch it on Shudder. You can watch it on Tubi. With Tubi, there's going to be commercials on it. I will warn you there. But if you do have a subscription to Shudder, you can watch it, as far as I know, commercial free on Shudder. I'm not sure which version Chris is going to be watching, but when I get him on here in a sec, I will check with him, and we'll try to get everybody that's going to be watching along with us tonight all synced up and ready to go. I need to make sure the sound's muted, because I don't want I definitely don't want YouTube to get me. And I'm going to turn on the subtitles on it. I'm going to get Chris's opinion on this film too before we get started. But a little housekeeping stuff before I do get Chris on here. Just want to remind everybody that this counts as a live stream. Watch-alongs count as a live stream. So if you want to throw your hat in the ring for an upcoming watch-along film, you can do it tonight while we're doing this watch-along. If you give a super chat of $5 or more during this watch along, you can definitely throw your hat in the ring. I will tell you that Mentallect's been on fire. He's picked the next two, so I don't do these watch alongs every weekend. I do them every other weekend now. So this next weekend I won't be doing them, but the following weekend, Mentalect has picked It Follows, and I'm not sure if it's REC or REC. Candace says she thought it was REC. I think Chris said either one. I was watching his mouth move. So I figured somebody would call me out on saying, it's not REC, Dana, it's REC, or it's not REC, it's REC. So evidently it must not matter. So those will be the upcoming ones. But then if you want to throw your hat in the ring for the ones after that, all you got to do is give a $5 or more super chat, and you can throw your hat in the ring. Okay. And if you're the only one, guess what? You'll get your pick for the next Saturday that I do one. So that's the perk of if you're the only one. All right. So I'm gonna run mine back a little bit. Well, I'm trying to. Gosh dang it. I don't know why this thing won't let me. I've got it on my tablet and it won't let me run it back. Let me just see if I can keep running it back. There we go. Okay. So let me get Chris on here, and then I'm terrible with my tablet. I'm used to just clicking and going back, and I'm trying to slide my finger over here, and it just wasn't cooperating very much. All right, so let's add Chris here. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Dana, how's it going?
Okay, if I get my ducks in a row here,
Well,
trying to get all this set
by,
up.
by what you said and everything, how you said that you hadn't had time to get anything done today. I mean, I'm surprised that you had time to put together this watch along from the sounds of it.
Well, the main thing I had to do. Hey, Mentallect, I was hoping you would show up because this is your movie pick. Mentelect's been picking some good ones too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of found footage stuff, but that's okay. We don't mind. Hey, Candace. But all I really had to do was get this movie all queued up
Right.
on my tablet and make the intro for it and send Chris the link because I don't know. I just felt like somebody flipped off a light switch or something, and
Well,
my energy just.
I think we all have those days. I mean, there's definitely days where the day before I'll have like a bunch of stuff planned out to do, get some work done or things around the house or whatever. And then like, the next day comes and you're like, you know what? I just want to lay around all day and do nothing. I mean, I think we all have those days and that's completely understandable.
It took me 2 tries to get the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. I had Steve download that for me so I could watch it because I haven't seen it in a while. I was like, I want to watch Charlie Brown Thanksgiving.
I
So
believe I have that one on blue. I have a Charlie Brown Peanuts Blu-ray set. It has the Great Pumpkin. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. It has the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, and I think it has the one of the Christmas ones. So
I have one of the Christmas ones. I guess it's probably the original one. Yeah, I think it's the original one, but it's Christmas time again, Charlie Brown or something like that on it.
well, I said I have those 3 on Blu-ray, but I have every single Charlie Brown TV special that there's been because years ago there used to be this website called ioffer.com. And
I remember that.
I don't think it's around anymore, but it used to be you could go on there and they had a lot of different things like you could buy, but I mostly went on there for like movies and TV shows and stuff that didn't exist on DVD or anywhere unless it was like just like stuff you downloaded on the internet. And basically that's what this was. There were people on there that had downloaded the files for movies and shows and stuff that didn't exist on DVD. And they would just put it on, like recordable DVDs and sell them on there. And but I guess that site doesn't exist anymore because there was probably a lot of legal stuff that they ran into because people were selling that stuff. But in the time that it was around, I got quite a bit of stuff from there, including like all those Charlie Brown TV specials and movies, and I got like some other like stuff from a lot of like Nickelodeon stuff, like cartoons that I grew up with that wasn't available at that time, but a lot of that stuff has now been officially released, like on DVD and Blu-ray and all that. But yeah, I mean that was a good time. Like if you knew about that and that was available to you, it was convenient for me to get a lot of that stuff so I could watch because I'm a big Peanuts fan, Charles Schultz fan in general. Candace is too. You know, we love all that stuff. We collect different like Charlie Brown and Snoopy's memorabilia, especially a lot of like the little figurines and plushes, whatever we can find. You know,
There were McDonald's glasses at one time for Peanuts, wasn't there?
There's been like McDonald's glasses for like everything, and like I know Pizza Hut used to do like some of those collectible glasses too. Like because I have some of the ET ones that they put out back in the 80s that Pizza Hut put out. But they don't do stuff like that anymore. I guess it's because like after the last time they did that with the glass ones, at least was the Shrek ones, because there was like some controversy. Hey, calm down. But there was some controversy with those Shrek glasses because of like it's like the paint that they put on was leading to like poisoning people that were drinking from the glasses or something like that. Candace was telling me about it, and I remember looking it up, and it was true. So that did happen. But I know like what they don't do like the glass, like actual glass. They put McDonald's a couple months ago put out like these
the collect
something like them. They were plastic cups though that had different designs on them of like the Happy Meal toys, I guess, that they had over the years in McDonald's and stuff. Those we actually got some of those. Those are pretty neat.
I got one of them, and they were cool. I think there were some people that were disappointed they weren't glass, but you know, being as what happened with the Shrek glasses, I don't think anybody.
Yeah, I think that was the end of it. Like, but yeah, like definitely growing up, I collected a lot of those from the different restaurants that advertised them, and I know Candace did too. They used to have these little small glasses about this big that McDonald's had maybe in the late 80s, early 90s of Garfield. And we have some of those, but like I think some of them Candace had from when she was younger, but we find them at like thrift stores and Goodwills and stuff like that all the time. And so anything like that, if we ever see it, we always pick stuff up like that.
Yeah, I love it. So even my mom and dad, I remember them liking those glasses like that you could get at McDonald's and stuff back in the day. But before we get to Smoothie Star, I did want to remind everybody too that I have a Beyond Black Friday sale or discount going on at deaditesondeck.com. There should be a clickable link because Steve reminds me, he says, people like clickable links, Dana, you know, where they can just click your shop link and go to it instead of having to type it in, you know.
Or you should make like a QR code for your store.
Yeah, that is a very good idea, Chris. And if
I know a lot of people do that nowadays. Like I'll see stuff like you ever see these people that are kind of like out on the street playing music or whatever, doing some kind of like act, and then they'll like wherever they're standing, like if they're in front like of a building or something, they'll have like a printed out paper to like stick behind them on that wall with a QR code in case like somebody wanted to like tip them with PayPal or Venmo or something like that. So it doesn't have to be a thing to where they have to pay you. You could just make a QR code for a link, you know, to your store or whatever. And yeah, I think that would be a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that, Chris. That is a very good idea. I take any suggestions. People are probably getting tired of hearing me talk about the store, but I'm just trying to drum up a little more business for the
and that way too. If you went to like conventions or something, you could like print out some cards that had that QR code and just lay them down on like the swag table or whatever it's called at conventions, where everybody lies the free stuff down there. And that way, you know, that could, you know, expand your audience more that way too.
I could always add them to these Vista print cards.
Absolutely.
But anyway, if you want to save 10% off your order of $35 or more, all you got to do when you go to checkout on the shop, you put in the promo code Beyond Black Friday, all in capital letters, and that'll get you 10% off any order of $35 or more. So get on over there, get Christmas gifts for yourself, get Christmas gifts for friends and family. And remember, if you're not a horror fan or the people you're getting gifts for are not horror fans, I do custom work.
Mhm.
I'll put your family on a shirt if you don't mind sending me a picture. I would be glad to do that for you.
And she has done it, folks. She has done it for us, me and Candace in the past, for our son, our nephews. She just did like some custom work for Candace from the musician Youngblood that Candace and Dana are fans of. Um, and all this stuff, like, it prints so well. I mean, it is very good quality stuff. Like, we have all the stuff that Dana has made us. We've washed it multiple times. Nothing has happened to the shirts or anything, so you don't got to worry about that. It is, I mean, I highly, highly recommend Dana's custom work. You should check it out for yourself.
And Chris, you'll be having in fact, while I'm on here, because I promised Chris I'm going to make him another hat when I got my process better down pat.
But I do love the hat. Dana made me a hat of the thing, so it's a trucker hat, so it has like the mesh back to it, and it's like a light. I call it glacier blue.
Yeah.
And it has just on the front, it has the thing, and it turned. And I know you weren't happy with it, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, Candace said you did, and you've told me more than once that you did. But I am happy to report this is a hat I made for my dad to take to him on
Oh, that
Thanksgiving.
looks good.
That I love the colors. I was like, the colors came out so bright.
Yeah, that red looks great on that ball.
Yeah, and this is for his business. He's retired from his main job, so now he has an antiques and collectibles kind of shop. He sells things at the house, but he also goes to these sales and he goes to auctions and he buys stuff and then he resells it.
Do they have vendor malls in your parents' area?
I believe they do, and occasionally Dad he goes all different places. Him and my Uncle Scotty. They're wheeling and dealing all over the place.
I didn't know if he had ever tried setting up a booth in a vendor mall before, and he could
I don't think him and Scotty have done that yet. I don't think so. They've come to Louisville and they've come to the big sales in Louisville and sold things and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna put this back there. But I just wanted to show everybody that I've kind of got my hat process down pat, and Chris will, as soon as I get another ice blue or glacier blue hat in, I'm gonna make him another thing. Logo, and then he'll have two hats.
I'll have two of them. I have to fight over which one I want to wear.
Candace will say, "Make up your mind, Chris. Which one are you going to wear today?"
Yeah.
But I see Russell's in here. Hey, Russell. He says hi to me and Chris and Candace.
Oh, is that who that is? Because I see it from Parts Unknown.
Yeah, I figured that out one night because just the way he was talking, I was like, that's got to be Russell.
Yeah, I was like, well, they know who we are, but I don't recognize that name. But yeah, hey, Russell. I seen he also said a great time last night watching Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon. Now, is that something or did you watch Death Sentence?
That was Russell's pick last night.
Oh, so you did that last night? Oh,
yeah.
Dang. I hate that I missed that because that's my favorite Kevin Bacon movie.
I'm sorry, Chris.
Oh, that's on me. I've been super busy this week. I apologize. But yeah, Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon. Let me tell you, like that scene after he shaves his head and he's sitting there and he's just loading up all those guns, ready to just go to town on those guys that killed his son. Oh man, it's intense. I love that movie.
And it doesn't. The thing about this movie that I know is because I was going to watch it before we did the watch along, but I didn't get around to it. So I was going into it blind. Other than Steve that told me it was like Death Wish, and he said it was actually taken from a rejected script for Death.
Yeah, it's very, very, very similar. I mean, along the same lines and everything. But oh man, I absolutely love it. And I was the same way the first time I ever watched it. I think I had found it on Netflix or something like one of those streaming sites.
I was like, how
And
did this fall under my radar? Because it was from 2007.
yeah, and I knew nothing about it. I hadn't even heard of it until I seen it. I was like, oh, I just read like the little brief description of it. Like, I'll give this a shot. And then, from the get-go, the way that movie kicks off when they stop at like the gas station and everything,
Oh,
it's intense all the way
it does
through.
not let up the entire movie.
It's not. And I've recommended that so many times to people. Like, I actually was just talking to my dad about it not that long ago, because he brought up Tremors or something. I think we were talking about Tremors, and then he started talking about Kevin Bacon, and I was like, hey, have you ever seen this movie called Death Sentence? And he's like, no. And so I don't know if he ever watched it or not. He hasn't told me.
Right. Now, I did not watch the director's cut last night, but Russell says there is a director's cut that's 2 hours plus with the director's intro.
Oh, and speaking of director's cut, I have a question for you. So there's also the director's cut of Hell House that we're about to watch. And it's also on Shudder, which I'll be watching Hell House from Shudder, but I want to ask, which version are we watching, the regular version or the director's cut?
I'm watching the director's cut. Let me. Okay. I think I am. I'm pretty sure I am. But if we get off by just a little bit, I'm not going to worry too much.
It should tell you. Do you have it pulled up right now?
Well, maybe this isn't the director's cut. Hold on just a second, Chris.
Which one do you prefer, Mentallect? Because there's not a whole lot of difference in as far as running time goes on them. But I guess you should just ask Mentallect which version he prefers.
Yeah, which one would you prefer, Mentallect, and we'll just go from there. Let's see, because I think he wants
the regular cut. Okay. All right, sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, like I said, I've watched both versions. There's not a whole lot of difference in them, but really, all you with Hell House, like all you just need is the regular cut of it to get the effect of what's going on in the film. It is my favorite found footage film that I've seen thus far. I've seen.
Yeah, I believe it probably is my favorite too.
It absolutely is. Like, it was another one of those films that I went into blindly.
I did too.
I discovered it, I think, on Amazon Prime a few years ago. It was actually, I think it was the first year that when we bought our house back in 2021 was the first time I ever watched it. And like I said, it was on Amazon Prime. And after I watched it, I remember telling Candace about it. I was like, Candace, you got to watch this movie. And then I was telling her brother about it too. So when the second time I watched it with Candace and CJ. And they absolutely loved it. I know CJ is like obsessed with it now because I'm
not obsessed with it.
The last horror hound I went to, I actually went to this lady that was selling some pins and like the enamel pins, and I bought the one for CJ of the clown dummy that's in Hell House, the one that's the main one, the main one that's featured, as you know, and like it's also there's a more of a back. I don't know if you've seen all the Hell House films or not, Dana, but
I think I've seen them all, but it's been a little bit.
Have you seen the latest one that came out? It was the Origins, the Carmichael Manor.
That might be the one I haven't seen yet.
That's the latest one, and it goes more into the backstory of the clown dummy that we'll see in the first film. But yeah, I've seen them all. I really enjoy all of the Hell House films so far. I know there's a new one actually coming next year. I forget the name of it, but it's coming on Shudder next year. Because that last one, the Origins of Carmichael Manor, it was also a Shudder exclusive too. But out of all the ones I've seen this far, the original that we're about to watch is still my favorite this far.
Chris, do you feel like this one gets under your skin and kind of stays there for a little bit? Because that's the way I.
Well, the first couple times that, but I've seen something because I've watched it already like 2 or 3 times over this year alone, and it doesn't do to me what it did initially when I first watched it.
Right.
But it still like is always going to have that creepy and disturbing factor to it. There's, which I don't want to give too much away of the film, that if anybody hasn't seen it before, but there's a scene with a character named Paul when he's recording himself as he's going to bed at night, and there's something that happens within this scene. I don't want to give it away, but but that scene alone is one of the creepiest scenes to me in the entire film.
Yeah. Look, there are certain scenes in movies, and speaking of like found footage stuff, Steve got in the new copy of Blair Witch Project, the original Blair Witch Project.
Oh, the Second Sight release. I know Second Sight did. Somebody else released it too.
The Second Sight release, I think he got. Well, maybe he did. I don't know if it came from Diabolic or what, but he just got it in, and I didn't really look at it.
I've been seeing people talk about it the past few days, and I know I've seen something about Second Sight Films did a release of it, so I don't know if that's the same one or. If,
I'll have to take a look at that. But it looks really good for something that's supposed to be like, filmed off the cuff and all that documentary style. And it was fun going. We actually watched the festival cut, which I didn't notice any huge changes, but there were some subtle differences and additions that I was like, I don't remember that from watching the theatrical cut of Blair Witch Project. So,
but I will be honest with you, like I love found footage films, but I've never been a big fan of Blair Witch.
And some people aren't. I think Blair Witch Project is either it's your cup of tea or it's not.
But I'm not doubting its popularity or anything because it's huge. Like it has a huge fan base to this day. And back when it was originally released, it was the talk of the town everywhere because, it was in a time when that was released, which I believe that was in 1999. It was really, the internet was still kind of very new, and there was just a lot of talk amongst people like, hey, is this real? Did this
Well,
really
my mom thought it was real. I said, no, Mom. I said, it's not real. Those people are still alive.
Right. And I remember going to I didn't go. We were just going to it just to sit down because we were tired, but it was at a Horror Hound. We went in there to the Q&A room where we were sitting down just to rest, but it was in the middle of a Blair Witch Project reunion Q&A. And I remember Heather was talking at the time, and they were talking about that, about how like people, so many people thought this was real. Even her mother thought it was real and wasn't sure if anything had happened to her daughter, and she said she remember calling her mom like, no, Mom, I'm still alive, everything's okay. But and that was like with her mom and her family and all that. But she said she remembers when the other people like that didn't know her started realizing that it wasn't a real film. It was because they had saw her after that in some kind of commercial on TV where she was like that she had auditioned for and got the part. So they're like, oh, that's the same chick from Blair Witch Project. So, but yeah, like I said, it was a time though where we didn't really know for sure, and the internet was very new, so we didn't really have a lot of information to go by.
No, and it was easy to kind of slip that out there where people were thinking, is this real? Is it not real? Did something bad really happen to these people? But we'll go ahead and get started here in just a second. I just want to get caught up on these messages. So Russell says he's never seen either version of this. This is going to be his first time watch. he's never really been into found footage films. And Ben says he's never seen this. And hey, Ben, by the way. And Russell says, hey, Ben, me too. And Mentellect says Blair Witch is nostalgic, but there are better found footage films today, like Creep, etc. I haven't seen Creep.
I agree. There's Creep, and then there's also Creep 2. And not to spoil anything, but the way the end of Creep 2, the way it ends, it kind of sets it up for another one. But I think it's been a few years since Creep 2 came out. But yeah, Dana, I recommend those. I believe they're both on Netflix. I'm pretty sure that's where I watched them. But yeah, I like those a lot. Those are two that I actually really like.
Okay, I'll have to. I'll check with Steve. He's probably seen them. A lot of stuff that I haven't gotten around to watching, Steve has of course seen. But I guess we're going to go with the regular cut, which is an hour and 31 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at the Terror Films logo. So I'll give everybody a minute or two that's going to be watching along with me and Chris tonight to get queued up there. And again, it's on Shudder. If you have a Shudder subscription, and it's also on Tubi, but unless you have the commercial-free version of Tubi, you're going to have some commercials in there.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I'll give everybody a minute or two to get queued up.
I get if you don't have Shudder and you're trying to watch from Tubi, I guess that's a sign that you need to get Shudder, people, because it's only like $7 a month.
That's right.
If you like Joe Bob Briggs, you got hundreds of hours of content with him on there with The Last Drive-In, or if you don't want to, and there's even the Joe Bob's Just Joe Bob. If you just like hearing him talk and you don't want to watch the movie with you can just watch the in-between segments of that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff right now that they just added a bunch of stuff to Shudder.
Yeah, they did. They got a bunch of J horror, as they call it.
Yeah, I seen that they just added a bunch of like the Japanese horror stuff on there, and I like some of that stuff. I like a lot of Japanese films in general, just like like kung fu films and stuff like that. As far as like the Japanese horror goes, like I like some stuff here and there, but not a ton of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of pick and choose on the Japanese horror stuff. Ben, that's a good question, and maybe Chris knows the answer to this because I've seen this. He said there's a new show called The Creep Tapes. Not sure if it's associated with the movie.
I don't know. I'll have to look into that, Ben. I'd not heard of that. So if it is associated with the movies, that would be awesome for me because, like I said, I love those movies, and I've been after the way the second one ended. I was like, I want to see more. So hopefully I'll look into that though. Thanks for mentioning that.
And Russell says he's watching it on YouTube without ads, but I do think that Russell has the premium. He has the YouTube premium. So
he's got the high life on YouTube.
And I agree, Russell, the sadness is fucked up, and I don't like the sadness at all. The sadness just was like, this is just...
I'm not familiar with that one.
I'm not a prude, and I don't get grossed out. But watching a guy, how do I say this a nice way? Watching a guy that has become sick with whatever this virus is or whatever that makes him go crazy, he tries to violate a woman with his penis in her eye socket. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's when I was like, wow.
That sounds like some Lloyd Kaufman trauma shit.
Yeah, kind of does. But this was just so dark and so, it was overly disturbing. And I was like, this is not something I'm ever going to watch again. I watched it with Steve one time and I was just like, yeah, this isn't my cup of tea. Russell also says The Substance with Demi Moore is great. I don't think I've seen The Substance either.
Yeah, I've not seen it yet, but I've talked to several people who have, and I really want to see it.
Train to Busan is good, but there's one part in it, and I'm not going to give it away for people that haven't seen Train to Busan, but I was like, no,
I
no, no,
think
no.
Train to Busan is not J horror. I think it's more like, because I think it's from like South Korea, so I think it's like.
I think it is. Yeah,
Would you call
South
that?
Korea.
Would you call that K horror?
I don't know. SK words.
SK horror? Yeah.
I don't know. But I really like Train to Busan. It was a well-made movie, but just that one part just killed me. It absolutely killed me.
I had recently found out there's a new train. Well, I don't know how new it is, but I've seen that there is a sequel to it. I've not seen that one yet, though.
But I guess we better go ahead and get started with the movie, or what we'll be here this time tomorrow, and me and Chris have to. I'm assuming Chris has to work.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
unfortunately.
I got to work 3 days this week.
But I'm all right. I mean, we work from home, so we're
me and Chris are
ultimately we're fine.
So, all right, we're going to go ahead and do the countdown, and we're going to go ahead and get this party started with this movie. So, 3, 2, 1, press play, and we're off and running. And this movie starts out a lot like a lot of these found footage movies. You see somebody traveling in a vehicle. It looks like you can see the trees and the sky.
Yeah, and then it cuts to like the text screens and stuff. It's just telling you what you're about to see, basically. And what I love about this movie is it's not just like a straight up found footage film. It's also like a documentary that you're watching too, because it does cut to like people that are being interviewed about the events that we're seeing on film, like this guy right here, he's a journalist, and he's talking about, and they're just all talking about this different stuff of like the stories they've heard surrounding the events that we're about to see. And I love that. I love that they kind of turn it into that as well. And it's not just like how Blair Witch was, where it was just everything was filmed by the crew that we're seeing, the things.
And then we're getting a news footage.
Yeah, and exactly. I love that.
Which gives a sense of realism to it, even though we know this isn't a real thing. But just sticking a news segment in there is just that's genius to me.
And this is also a good one because, as you've seen there on the news footage, it showed that about Halloween chaos. It takes place around Halloween, so this is a good movie that you can watch, during the Halloween season as well.
You could do a double feature with this and the WNUF Halloween special,
and I believe it's also on Shudder as well. I'm pretty sure.
I believe so.
Oh, there's another reason, people, for you to get Shudder.
There's always some great content on there. You're never at a loss for finding something on Shudder to watch. It's just trying to determine what you want to watch. Sometimes there's too much good stuff, and I'm like, what am I going to watch tonight?
And I love this next part it's about to show, because it shows as a lot of the haunted house goers that was going there that night. One of them is a girl who was filming on her YouTube channel of going to the haunted house. So, and I think that's where a lot of the story started with, from that YouTube video. So they'll show that here in just a minute or so.
And, I think another reason this movie in particular gets under my skin is because, in the last year or so, not so much, but when Steve and I first got married, and of course I moved to Louisville, I noticed there were a lot of haunted houses around Louisville, different haunted house attractions. And we went to several of them, or I should say I dragged Steve to several of them because he would not go if it wasn't for me.
Right.
And so we've been to some pretty creepy ones. Like we went to one the first year I wanted to go, and it was over in the Highlands. And we went in there. They let people go in a few at a time. And we went into this room, and then the guy that led us in there, he said, "Are y'all ready?" And he left and shut the door, and the lights went out. And then you started hearing something in the corner, and I'm like, "Holy crap!" Um, and we went to ones where we got chased with a chainsaw, not like a chainsaw that would have cut you up. I mean, it could have been a real chainsaw, but had the
They in haunted, they normally are, but they always take the chain off.
yeah. And so the last part of one of these that we went to, we got, oh, I think that was the same one. When we were headed out, this guy started chasing us with a freaking chainsaw. And Steve was like, what in the
I tell you, I love haunts. I love haunted houses. They've just always been so interesting. And I've been to some really crappy ones too, but I always like find stuff about them that I like. It's because I just appreciate people taking their time and trying their best to put stuff like that together. There's a couple really good haunted house documentaries that are on Amazon Prime. I think one's called The American Scream.
Yeah.
It's really good. But yeah, back to the movie here. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago. This is the original YouTube video that was put on that I guess alerted everybody as the chaos was happening, because as you see they're like
They're trying
panicking to try to get out of that basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to put cause, but we haven't seen yet what they're running from. But
So you're getting some, and
yeah,
I
you're
love
just kind of getting a backstory of like what we're about to see and find out what all exactly happened.
I love the way, though, it's dark, it's muddy. You can't really, there's people running around and screaming and stuff all over the place. If you have your sound on, you will know that there's people running and screaming. People are getting knocked down, people are getting run over. It's just complete chaos, but you're unable to focus on any one thing. So it's very,
Right. And that's how a lot of found footage films are. I mean, if you watched anything like Cloverfield or Quarantine or anything like that, I remember going when I was living in Huntington, West Virginia at the time, and me and a couple of my friends from over there, we went to the movie theater to see Quarantine when it was in film or in the theaters, and that the place was packed when we went, and we got there a little bit late, so we had to end up sitting in the front row. And if you've seen Quarantine, then you know that there's a lot of like motion. It's all over the place throughout that whole film. And after the film was over, my friend Carlton had to go to the bathroom and throw up because he got extreme motion sickness.
yeah.
But I've never had a problem with that.
Thankfully, I've never had that problem either.
Yeah, but yeah, like I love like haunted house stuff though. In general, and like I said, I've been to some bad ones, but I've been to some really good ones too. Remember a few years ago, me and Candace took Noah and Raiden to Kings Island during the Halloween season when they were having like the haunted houses and stuff within the park. And oh man, it was probably I mean, I really enjoyed it, but it was probably a bad idea to take the boys with us because they were really well made haunted houses. And the boys were scared to death, and they were like, oh, I was like, oh God, I've ruined them on horror forever.
Yeah, they'll be scarred for life now. I wanted to take a moment to talk about, I don't know how much Chris knows about what they call quote unquote extreme haunts, but I just wanted to take a moment to talk about those, because I don't know how many of you guys that are watching along with us have ever experienced an extreme haunt or know what they are. But there is one, McCamey Manor, and you can look it up online.
I think they did a documentary over them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
there is no way in hell I would do that, because here's the thing. They make you fill out tons of paperwork. People have to be on a waiting list to get to even go to this. Why you would torture yourself, I don't know. Fake stuff is one thing. Real stuff where they actually come, I am not kidding you. In the past, they have come and kidnapped people and took them to the dang haunt
Yeah.
and then tortured them more. They put bags on their head, they pushed them into cars, and they took them to this place, or they were blindfolded or whatever. It's like,
And
holy crap.
and the price of admission is like a bag of dog food or something like that. And but like that documentary they put out about that, it's just basically got people talking on there that experienced the McKinney Manor and all the physical abuse that they went through. And they actually, there's 2 found footage films that got put out called The House That October Built.
Yeah. Steve loves
And
it.
I'm pretty sure that's like based on the whole thing with McKinney Manor, because it's kind of the same thing. These, they go to this haunted house and there's a lot of like physical stuff happening to them, but they don't kill them or anything. It's just they're just really extreme with them. So I like those films, The House That October Built, 1 and 2. So if anybody's not seen those, I think they're maybe on Netflix or something, or they may be on Shudder. I'm not sure. But you should seek those out and watch those as well.
Russell LLC, I used to know what that stood for, and
I'm not sure either, but I know that there's a lot of different like companies and stuff like that use, like especially like law firms and stuff. I know use like, because I deal with a lot, what my job is and stuff. I deal with a lot of attorneys and stuff. So whenever like I have to like verify their firm, like a lot of them will have that LLC at the end of their firm.
I'm going to take the lazy way out here, Russell, and I'm going to say Google it, because I'm sure that if you Google LLC, it's going to come up. It's something to do with like a licensing or something like that.
And here's Sarah now. Like she was part of the Hell House crew, and like they're interviewing her here because like she was the only survivor that they know of right now from the Hell House crew. So that she's the one that's kind of like brought them the tapes and everything, and letting them see what really happened. So it's It starts off a little slow. Anybody that's watching along with it starts off. If you've never seen this before, it starts off a little slow, but once it gets to the actual tapes of the crew being at the Abaddon Hotel, which is the location they're using for their Hell House haunt, that's when the movie starts really going and kind of picking up. With each thing that comes about in the film, it really, really gets better and better as it goes on. So yeah, I think that's why I've rewatched this film so many times, because that's rare for me personally to something like I really enjoy that much, because it never fails to keep your attention. That's the kind of stuff that I will watch over and over and over.
Right. And I agree with Chris that it's a little slow to get into the main part of this, but this is a good slow burn. This is an example of a good slow burn. And I think I said that to somebody after I watched this the first time. I said, it's a slow burn, but once it gets into it, like it doesn't let up, and it just takes you on this roller coaster ride, essentially, of events that you feel almost like, and some people might think I'm overdoing it here, but it feels like it's taking your breath away, because it's just one thing right after the other.
And this scene right here, where, because as the footage is starting to begin of the Hell House crew, they're driving down the road and they're playing this game, and this is a game that me and Candace play all the time too. We've been doing this before I'd ever seen this, is where we just kind of describe a film to one another. We have to guess which one it is. So You know, they were
I
just
really enjoyed this too because you can tell that they're movie fans, not only horror fans, but they're or horror movie fans, but they're movie fans in general. They're movie buffs.
yeah. And there's a little thing we'll get into here in a little bit in the movie with Alex, who's sitting there in the passenger side seat, and the driver is Mac. So they're the ones that are kind of like orchestrating the whole Hell House haunt and everything. And the rest of the people here, as you can see here, they're arguing outside the car right now over something, but we're not sure what that is right now. And the thing they kind of go into a little bit like in the other films of like what their whole relationship was behind the Abaddon Hotel, but they never made it clear. Of all the films that have been released, they've never made that clear of like how they came in contact with the hotel and how they brought the haunt to be there and all that. So I'm hoping eventually something that'll come out because there's been some rumors of something called the Abaddon tapes supposed to be
Yeah.
being released. So I'm hoping they'll finally elaborate on that.
Russell says, "Love your Southern accent." I'm assuming he's talking about you, Chris, because Chris I mean, me and Chris and Candace, we have similar accents.
Mhm.
But I feel like Candace and Chris's is a little bit stronger than mine, and that's not a bad thing. I think that's a
Yeah.
good thing. The
We're
Southern,
from the deep South. No.
I've seen so many of these movies, Chris, that if something happened like this in real life, where they said, something bad happened to at some haunted house or something
Mhm.
like that, there would be no freaking way I would go
Me either.
there.
Like I don't care to go to like the fun little haunts and haunted houses and stuff, but like if I'm having to spend like because the time frame on these tapes, because I think this is August 23rd or something like that when they first arrived, and it goes all the way through October the 8th. So if I had to spend almost 2 months in a place that I knew that had like history of it being haunted, and no way. I mean, I've never even been in Waverly Hills before, and I don't know that I ever will.
I'd
But
love for y'all to come to Louisville and we all go. Steve won't go with us, but I would love for us three to go.
yeah, me and Candace, we did go to Myrtle's Plantation down in Baton Rouge,
Yeah.
Louisiana, and by far that's the most creepiest place I've ever been to. I've never really had any kind of paranormal experiences until we went to Myrtle's Plantation. Um, and it
Yeah,
was something
Candace
that,
has told me about that
well,
stuff.
yeah, she had more experiences than what I did there, but she's had experiences in multiple places because she's an empath, and so she definitely can be in touch with that more than what I can. But I definitely did feel some very unsettling stuff when we was at Myrtle's Plantation, and I don't think I'd ever want to go back there, honestly.
I'd like to go there once. There's also a place called Bobby Mackey's. You heard of Bobby Mackey's?
Yeah, but I heard that they're closing that.
Well, what happened? I read some articles on it. They closed it temporarily and moved, I guess, the bar part of it
Oh, is that what it
to a
is?
different location while they're doing renovations to the original location. And
Now
I thought they were going to reopen it.
Now, where is it in Bobby Mackey's place that's supposed to be like a pit to hell or whatever?
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm trying to remember where exactly that is, but they say that that place is freaking creepy and that some of these ghost hunters. Now, I don't put so much stock in. If you watch these televised ghost hunters, I harbor no ill will towards you. But ghost hunters nowadays, at least the ones that have big television shows, I watch that stuff and I'm like, dudes, come on. This stuff is not like the old school stuff. But some of those guys and gals, I guess, have claimed that something has attached itself to them when they went to Bobby Mackey's. And so I would love to go there, but I don't want nothing attaching itself to me and coming home with me. I know that much.
Now, and I just wanted to mention real quick while we're at this scene where they're up in the attic. Now, this is a film, people. If you've never seen it before, that you need to pay close attention to the details in the scenes and all the locations that the crew is in at the time. Like right now through the attic, and you'll see that all throughout the film. Like they'll basically like take you on a tour throughout the whole house or the hotel that they're in, all throughout the film. So that way you're getting familiar with where they're at within the scene, and it's going to show something right now here. Like so, you can see because it cuts back as they pass that door. You could see that figure.
Yeah, it looks like a shrouded or hooded figure scene.
So, like that's like I said, and that's key for later on. So that all these different locations that they're going to throughout the hotel are something you're going to need to remember for later in the film.
Now, this sort of reminds me. This part here sort of reminds me of the death tunnel or the body chute or whatever you want to call it at Waverly Hills, where when it was a TB hospital, they would row the dead out through this tunnel so that the people that were sick but still alive wouldn't get depressed seeing all these bodies being wheeled out of the hospital.
Well, funny thing, this basement that they're in right now in the film, well, after Candace watched Hell House, she will no longer go into our basement of our house.
Oh, really?
Because the basement in this film is almost identical to our basement in our house.
Oh, God. I don't know if I would go in my basement.
I mean, we don't have pentagrams and stuff drawn in our basement or anything like that.
But painting pentagrams.
I'm just talking about like the layout. It's very close to it.
Exactly.
So yeah, our basement's pretty creepy. There's something down there that was there when we bought the house. Mm-hmm. It's like an old timey hospital bed.
That's even creepier.
Yeah, that's another reason why she won't go down there anymore, because she's afraid that there's like she doesn't know what's attached to that bed, and none of us have touched it. It's just been sitting down there, and I won't even go around it anymore. So
yeah,
I've asked people in the past. I'm like, hey, do you want a hospital bed from like the 50s? And they're like, what?
No, thank you, Chris. Yeah, Chris just wants to get it the hell out of his basement.
To be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm laughing, but I totally understand that kind of stuff because I've been freaked out back here in this room where I do the live streams and Steve doesn't like me talking about this because he says he doesn't believe in ghosts or anything supernatural like that or paranormal. But
I didn't either, Dana. I didn't either until a certain point, until I really experienced it. Like there was no question about it. I'm like, no, that really happened. And it was something I thought for years that I just put out of my mind. Like, that's not possible, but you never really know what's possible until it happens to you.
And I believe that not necessarily maybe the houses, like my mom and dad's house, my grand and papa's house, that the houses were haunted, but I think that the property was haunted because, and I'm going to people might say, we don't want to hear your haunted stories, Dana, but for people that haven't heard me talk about this stuff, my grand and papa, whose house, they both since passed away, but when they were living and that house was there, there was another house there on the same property. It was just down the road from my mom and dad's house.
Yeah.
And I spent many a time in the second house that was there. But the first house that was there burned to the ground when Dad was a kid. And so they rebuilt it, built another house on the same property. Grand and Papa lived in it for years. Dad lived in it until, him and my mom got married and he moved out and all that. And then years and years and years later, after my papa passed away and they auctioned the house and the ground that it was on off to someone else who went into it, started remodeling it, making it more modern and stuff like that. That house burned too. So 2 houses on the same property burned down. And I was talking to Patty Starr, who is a ghost hunter, and her husband. They came to the
She was the one who started Scarefest.
Yep, she most certainly was. So they came to the library when I was working for the public library in Hancock County, and they did a ghost program. And it was really, really good. But before the program started, I talked to her and her husband, and I was telling my story of things that had went on, 2 houses burning down on the same property and stuff. And I was always told that there was either an Indian burial ground somewhere on that property or a Civil War burial ground there. And I was telling them all this, and they looked at me and they said, there's definitely something going on there. And a few nights after, as if this isn't weird enough, a few nights after the house burned, of course, people tell me, well, it could have been embers or something that started, firing back up or whatever.
Right.
But this would not make the whole sky look like it was on fire, people.
That's pretty wild.
I just happened to be looking over. I was a kid that liked to, and a teenager that liked to stay outside the house at all hours of the day and night. I happened to look over in towards the sky part where the house would have been had it not burned, and the whole sky lit up like it was on fire. I've never seen anything like that in my life. It freaked me out, and I went in the house. I said, Mom, it's like the whole sky is on fire over there. And she, of course, when she looked, she didn't see it. It was gone. It went away. But when I was looking at it, it looked like there was fire in the sky. I swear to goodness, I've never seen anything like that.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
I like this scene that's going on right now with Paul as he was at the piano with one of the haunt dummies that he named Hector, and they did this little like melody on the piano, and that's something that you'll hear through pretty much all of the Hell House films. It's been that little tune that Paul comes up with is very synonymous with the Hell House franchise.
Yep.
And this guy that's playing Paul, I'm not sure the actor's name. But he is one of my favorite. He's probably my favorite character in this, and because a lot of the stuff revolves around his character in this. And now this is another scene with him. I mentioned this earlier, but this is not this. There's another scene
is
later.
Not that scene.
But this one's still creepy to begin with because
that is freaking creepy.
There's someone standing there, but he can't really see who it is because it's dark.
And they had straggly hair, and it's just all in shadow. It's
and
weird.
He assumes that it's Sarah, with the girl that's a part of his crew. But we'll find out here soon who this really is coming into Paul's room.
So, Chris, I've forgotten. He's got 1990 on his above his boob there, I guess you could say, tattooed on him. I can't remember. Do they ever say what that 1990 is
They
for?
don't, but I've always assumed that was his birth year.
Hmm.
Because this came out, I can't remember what, I want to say this came out in 2015. I think the events taking place are around like, I can't remember the year, but they're all pretty young. So I would assume that like maybe
That would make
1990
sense.
was like his birth year. Um, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
And for those guys or maybe gals too that like to see a little female ass there, I mean, she had underwear on, but you did get to see a nice shot of her butt. Um,
Yeah, I think, and that's about the extent of it as far as any kind of sexual stuff
yeah.
goes in the film. Now, the actors that they're showing right now that they're out there talking to in the rain, the girl in the striped little jacket thing that she's got on, she's the actress that they've hired to be chained up in the basement as a part of their haunt.
Yeah.
Now they do show her like when they have her chained up and stuff. They show she's like in her underwear, but it's nothing really like sexual or anything about it.
Right.
But I think that was just like the whole idea is they wanted to do that because it would appeal to their customers that are actually coming to the haunt.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think because this is, and Chris can disagree with me. I love to have good, healthy debate, or he might not disagree with me. But the thing is, this is not a slasher film.
no,
And slasher films, their foundation is nudity,
blood and
sex,
boobs.
vulgarity, and violence.
Yeah,
I mean, those are key points to a slasher film. So this not being a slasher film,
that's what I've
I
always
think
said. And I think Joe Bob always comes up to that too. Is like
blood, breasts, and beast.
all slashers are just blood and boobs, and he's right. I mean,
I mean, yeah, he's exactly right. And some people probably look at someone like me who doesn't. I don't really care for the nudity and sex and stuff like that. It doesn't bother me per se
mhm,
unless it's just overdone, you know. But I love my slashers.
yeah. Oh, me too. Me too. But yeah, they were just talking about how one of
That
the
guy
actors,
hanged himself.
Joey, he hanged himself 9 days later because he was actually one of the ones that escaped because he was hired to be as a part because he's when they showed the YouTube video earlier in the film when you seen the clown running through the crowd out trying to get out of there, that was him. That was Joey. And he actually escaped out of there of those events that night. But as it said, 9 days later after the events, he killed himself.
So he's discussing whether, I think she was concerned they were going to make her take her top off.
Yeah, like because she didn't want to do it. Yeah, she's like asking, no one's gonna be touching me or anything, right? But like, and Paul, who's the one behind the camera in this scene, he's behind the camera in a lot of the scenes of the film. Um, but he's kind of like trying to flirt with her and stuff because all he's worried about is hooking up with her and stuff.
Yeah, right. Paul's a horn dog. That's what Paul is.
Oh yeah.
I think this guy here, though, is better looking than Paul.
Oh, Alex.
Yeah. I'd be after his ass.
He's he's the head hon. He's the one that created Hell House and comes up with all the ideas. Well, him and Mac, but like it was Alex's baby per se.
See, and I could totally see myself, if somebody asked me to be in a haunt like this, I would absolutely love it. And just the thought of, we know things are not going to end well for these people.
Well,
It just chills me.
I really hope that you're offered that one day, Dana, because I've done it myself, and it's so fun. I remember one year we used to have this little storage building that me and Candace bought outside the house,
Mhm.
and we even put our own little like mini haunted house
Oh, I
together.
used to do that when I lived with my parents.
Oh,
I
we did it one, and this was the year that I dressed up like Mankind, the wrestler from WWF.
yeah.
And so I already had kind of a Leatherface vibe to me. So I had this little like toy chainsaw thing, and like we
Mhm.
set up this little haunted house in our little mini storage building, and it was mostly like the kids were going through it and stuff, and like I would just kind of I would jump out at the end and play around like I was going to get them with the chainsaw. So, but at the time. My brother-in-law CJ, when he was married to time, his wife at the time, she came through there with her friend, and they went all the way through, and they was about to just leave and go completely out the door back out, and they're like that was nothing, and then like here I jumped out and went crazy and scared the crap out of them,
Oh,
and
probably almost made them pee their pants.
they fell outside the door off the steps there, and I was like, oh God, I've got them killed. But it's so fun though. Like once you get
Yeah, it
around
is.
and you participate and stuff like that, I love that kind of stuff.
Now, speaking of haunts that me and Steve have went to, I dragged Steve once again 2 or 3 years ago. I drug him to the Asylum Horror Scream Park.
Oh wow. I've always
Oh,
wanted to go to that, yeah.
that was fun. And there was one funny part where I said, Steve, we got to get our picture taken. So they give you these fake weapons and stuff, and you hold them, and you do a nice picture. If you're there with your spouse or something, you do a nice picture where you're looking all happy and stuff. And then they have you do one where you're going to use the weapons on each other. So me and Steve did some of those. And then this person dressed as a clown came
Mhm.
over to us and wanted to take a picture with us. And so we got actual pictures of us with the clown as well. So
I remember when I was a kid, my sister-in-law, my older sister-in-law, she had took me and her little cousin to this haunted house over in the area where she lived, and it was scary, but it wasn't like super scary. But the scariest thing about it was when you go inside, like there was the person dressed up like the crypt keeper from Tales from the Crypt at the
mm,
beginning, and they would like introduce you to the haunted house and everything you're about to go through, and they would follow you. That the person dressed as a crypt keeper would follow you throughout the whole haunt,
yeah.
and I would just be like keep looking back and like I was so freaked out just by the dude as the crypt keeper more than anything else in the haunt. So, and I'll never forget that, but that was really cool.
And also, we got to go through a zombie thing, and there was a guy, that walked with us. He was like a guide, and he said, you know, we're gonna come up to this part and stuff like that. You gotta watch for these zombies and stuff like that. And they would have people as zombies, and they would come up to you and be going and carrying on. But it was a lot of fun, though.
Well, that's like they when we went to Myrtle Beach a couple of years ago, me, Candace, CJ, and the boys, we went to the Hollywood Wax Museum there in Myrtle Beach, and as a part of that building with the Hollywood Wax Museum, they had like a mirror maze thing, and they had this little, like zombie um, outbreak type like haunted house thing. And I bought all of us tickets to go through it, but I ended up going through it by myself because as soon as we stepped in the door, the boys went ape shit
Oh my god!
and just they could not go through. So CJ and Kansas had to take them. They was like, "Go on." They just tell me, "Just go on, go back." I was like, "Are you sure?" And I just went through it really fast, and like it was fun. I mean, it was like just like $2 a person or something. So I was out maybe like close to $20 or something,
We
but
we did laser. I forgot where we done this at, but me and Steve did laser tag where you have to shoot these crazy clowns and you don't know where they're going to come from. They come
oh,
from
that's
all
cool. This
different directions. These there won't be anything there, and then all of a sudden it's this crazy clown. You got to shoot
that
it
sounds
with
really
your
fun.
laser. I have to asked Steve if he remembers where. I can't for the life of me remember where we went and did that.
But I don't know if you were seeing what they were talking about 5 minutes ago when they were showing like the different like journalists and stuff that were being interviewed about, but they were going into like the background of the Abaddon Hotel, the history of it, and the original owner Andrew Tully, how he hung himself as well. It's because right before that they were talking about Joey here, how 9 days after the events he hung himself. So there's already a pattern there, as you can see, like about suicides and hanging themselves and all that. But we'll learn some more about Andrew Tully as we go on, and if you watch the second film, you learn even more about Andrew Tully.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, like I
There's some
said,
good props too.
yeah, they're extremely good prop, and I don't think they've showed it yet, but like there's a part here shortly that they'll show where they're doing a commercial for the Hell House, and it's really funny and creative. They use like the little dummies and stuff that they got, and then they got like a disgusting looking toilet there. It looked like
pretty shitty.
it looked like the dream catcher, like alien worms that would come out of their ass and dream catcher.
I'm telling you though, speaking of Dreamcatcher, the book was a lot better than the movie was.
A lot of people shit on the movie, but I
hate it,
like it for what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people shit on like the accent that Jonesy has when Mr. Gray gets inside of him, but I liked it. I thought it was pretty entertaining, and I thought that Donnie Wahlberg, who played Duddits in it, did an amazing job.
But for people that did dislike, ooh, there you go.
Yeah, this is one of the more iconic scenes of it, as you see, because he just saw it, and then he turns back, and there his head is.
The first time I saw that, when I watched this, that freaked me out. And I'm not normally scared of clowns or anything like that, but it freaked me out.
And and this is Tony behind the camera right now. So he thinks that is Paul.
Yeah.
Or no, it's Paul behind, but he thinks it's Tony. I got that backwards. So there he goes back and he sees Tony talking to Mac, and he runs.
Yeah,
back.
It's like, what the heck?
And
now they're gone.
And then he goes down into the basement, and he'll find the clown sitting with the other two clown dummies.
And if y'all remember those steps going down into the basement earlier when they were showing all the chaos, that's where people started panicking.
Yeah, that's exactly where they were at, was in the basement when they were trying to panic to get back up the steps. So yeah, so that's where pretty much everything happens in the end of this film that you'll see. So yeah, like I said, that scene right there is one of the more iconic scenes of the original Hell House, where they're finally starting to understand, hey, something weird is going on here.
And see, they're going back and watching footage that he had shot throughout the day. And that's something that I have really noticed, that if there is anything paranormal, supernatural, whatever you want to call it, sometimes you won't see it with the naked eye when it's actually happening. But if you go back and watch footage or look at pictures, that's where you will find it.
And if you watch that scene closely where they're watching the footage, like all of them are like, holy shit, what, how did they do that? How's that happening? Except for Alex, you get a sense that he is just trying to make excuses that's, because he knows more of what's going on than the rest do. And here's the commercial that they're filming now with the dummies on the bench and stuff, and I really like this part as well.
I love these props. I want these props for Halloween or something. These are what I call dream props. These are the kind of things that I would see in Fangoria magazine or something, or Gore Zone when I was a kid.
And I would sit that stuff around my house too, if Candace would let me, but I'm sure she wouldn't agree to do
They
that.
won't let me have that kind of stuff. You know, he wouldn't even let me. And me and Candace have talked about this several times. Steve wouldn't even allow me to have one of those wax dipped teddy bears that had like 2x4s going through them, and
Oh yeah, yeah, I know.
he would not let me have one of those in the living room. I was like, but they smell good, Steve, and they smell like candles and
Well,
stuff.
I'm sure
Oh,
Candace
dear.
has showed you, but we had actually in our living room behind the dining room table, we actually have a animatronic of a headless knight from the hall.
Yeah, I love it. It's cool. Candace and Chris, though, are a little bit more lenient, and Steve's rigid when it comes to stuff like that.
Well, I mean, there's some things like, me and Candace have discussed, like stuff she's had ideas for I didn't agree with, and stuff I've had ideas for and she doesn't agree with. But so we kind of have to find some level of agreement there, and before we do anything, you know what I mean?
But the thing with Steve, and I love my husband dearly, but it's a lot of about 9 times out of 10, and he'd probably disagree with me. It's his way or the highway with certain things in the house. Some things I can get by with, but not too many of them.
And not to cut you off, Dana, but
Oh, that's
but,
fine.
but, but this scene here, like, is one that really creeps me out as
With
well,
the
because
flashing lights and stuff.
strobe light stuff, because and people's asked me for, because I have epilepsy. They're like, they said, don't the strobe lights bother you? They don't. They don't affect me in any way. They don't trigger seizures or anything.
I think
So
I had asked Candace that before. I think it was to do with video games or something. I think I asked her if that
yeah,
bothered.
I don't know, but like it doesn't bother me or anything. But like, but strobe lights like this, I like this thing because that is definitely creepy to me. I've been in haunted houses before that do have like the strobe effect going,
It's very
and
disorienting.
that's the thing that's kind of scares me in haunted houses is the strobe effects, because I like to see like clearly what's before me,
Right.
what's in front of me, what I'm going through, and if I can't see clearly because of the strobe effect, that scares me, and it gets that that pressure build up in my chest, which
Yeah.
that's what the people running the haunt want. They want you to feel that, and they've done it to me. So job well done, guys.
Yeah. And I have a problem with the strobes kind of disorient me, but what really bothers me is blackness. You can't see your hand in front of your face. You're hearing
Yeah,
noises all around. That will freak me out.
like if you're in a room with a strobe light going off, and you're like going like this with your hand and stuff in front of you,
Yeah,
it's like you're moving in slow motion.
yeah, exactly. So if you see something pop up like we were just seeing in the scene before this one, there were things that were showing up, but it was just flashing. It was like you'd see them, you don't see them, you see
Yeah,
them, you don't see them, and it was like they were getting closer. And it's like, no way.
they call their dummies. They call them freaks.
Yeah,
They were asking how many freaks that you have down here, and which is
exactly.
their dummies, and they had I think three. But as the strobe was going, you could see something starting to come out of like the corner of the room,
Right.
and it's like, okay, this is not supposed to be here. And man, if I that ever like if I was going through a haunt like that where I knew for a fact that these were dummies, that I was going through the room with the strobe effect, and then I just seen something start to move towards me,
Yeah.
yeah, that's when I would probably be running. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, me too. And this haunt, oh holy crap, there it is again. Uh gets more and more malicious as time goes on. The whole, especially the basement area. But there's that damn clown again.
Yeah, and they're still trying. They think it's something to do with Paul. They think he's just messing with them.
Mm.
Um, and he's trying to like plead his case. No, I was sleeping.
You wouldn't catch me going down them steps and going towards that thing. No way. I wouldn't be messing with that thing. So I haven't heard from Russell for a little bit in the chat. I'm wondering how Russell is liking this found footage. Oh, now we're seeing something else odd here.
Yeah, so that's Sarah from their crew, and like she's over in this corner of this room, and if you she's been having some episodes. If you notice, when they were filming the commercial, it showed her off to the side. She was staring at a statue of Mary,
Yeah.
Virgin Mary, and they never really explained why she was doing that.
And I don't know about you, Chris, but I like that aspect that they didn't explain it. It kind of makes it a little more eerie.
Well, yeah, I definitely get that. I get that's probably what they were going for, because not everything needs to be explained. I think a lot of filmmakers do that because they want to kind of leave it up to the audience to decide what's going on in this type of situation. And I can appreciate that. I feel like if I was a filmmaker, I would probably do that same type of thing.
A lot of fucks there. Sorry. It was just
there's a lot of F-bombs in this movie. So if you don't like that kind of thing, sorry.
You need to stay away from this film. And a lot of other films as well, I would say.
And like I mentioned earlier, like as you see, they're going, they're searching through this entire hotel of their haunt, and I love that they did that. That you do it so because it kind of gets you, like I said, familiar with the layout of the hotel, and so that way, if anything went wrong, they would know where to go, that where they can go to get out, to get customers out. And you'll see that later on as when the chaos ensues on the night of the haunt. But
there's that damn clown again.
Yeah, and it just keeps moving around, and Mac is very skeptic because he mentions that he doesn't believe in ghosts.
Right. And that's an important character to have. You have to have a skeptic in there.
But as the events go on, he's starting to, kind of question that. You can kind of tell because, they want to believe that Paul is behind this stuff happening, but the more it's happening, they're seeing these things, flow. They're like, no, there's something else is going on here. And this is I believe this is the scene right here, that I alluded to.
That freaks you out.
That's probably the creepiest scene in the film, because he does he talks a little bit here, and I think then he goes to sleep, and then he wakes up and he starts feeling himself again.
So he's concerned about Sarah too at this point,
because he's noticed that there's something up with her too. And Paul is the one, even though they think he's the one orchestrating all these pranks and stuff, he's the one that's really kind of concerned and realizes, hey, something else is going on here, and he's trying to put that in everybody else's head, but at the same time, they're thinking, yeah, you planned all this, buddy.
Oh yeah. That is freaky. I remember this freaking me out too.
Well, it's when it's when she turns to look at him here in a second. I think it's her eyes. It's just the eyes that really freak me out about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely remember. I'm remembering this. I'd be getting the hell out of there. And he's like, what is he doing? Is he hiding under the
Hiding
blanket?
underneath his covers, yeah.
I don't think that's going to work very well.
And then he'll take them off here, thinking he'll see that she's gotten closer to him.
And imagine watching this on a big screen TV too, because
yeah, that's how I watched it.
The first time I watched it, I was watching it on a big screen.
Yeah, me too.
Now tonight I'm watching it on my tablet, so it's not as big of a screen.
I'm watching it here on the computer, so like I have it like half screen though, because I have like half the screen as I'm watching the movie, and half the screen I've got StreamYard pulled up. But I've seen it plenty of times. I can watch it on. It don't matter what the size of the screen is, but it definitely, like you said, like when you watch stuff like this on a bigger screen, I feel like it has more of an effect on you.
It definitely does.
I don't know why that is, but yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story about when I got my first like big screen TV when I was living with my parents still?
Mm-hmm.
And I was enamored with this big screen TV because it was the biggest one I'd ever had up until that point. But it was in my bedroom in my parents' house. And so it had to be a little closer to my bed. So I spent many a nights, falling asleep watching a movie or something. And generally they were horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I happened to be watching Jaws, the original Jaws, and I fell asleep. And I woke up and opened my eyes, and that daggone shark was right up in my face. And I was like, shit, and it scared the crap out of me. But it's a good thing it wasn't anything other than a shark. It might, if I woke up and saw that, something like that, and it was right up in my face almost, good Lord.
So they don't know what's happened to Paul now,
Right.
because after that last time we saw Paul with the ghost spirit or demon, whatever it was in his room, they don't know where he is, and so they're thinking like he's messing with them again, because they tried to call.
There was another quick shot of something there too.
And they tried to call him on his phone, but whenever they called him, like this really sharp, like piercing sound came out of Alex's phone, causing him to drop his phone. And now they're like, see that, and they heard the music from the piano playing that Paul had played earlier, and that's why he ran in there to see, but only to find the dummy Hector.
And every one of these like dummies and stuff or props or whatever, even the ones that are obviously not something otherworldly or supernatural or something, are freaky.
Yeah.
because you don't know what's suddenly going to start moving or pop up in front of you.
Some of the masks and stuff that they're using on some of the props in this have to be from either the late 80s or the 90s because they look very similar to these masks that there was a company, and they're still around to this day because I just seen them at the last Mask Fest, is Zagon Studios.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they were the ones that put out like the mask that was used in Rocktober Blood.
Oh, that's right.
They
Yeah.
kind of have like that. There was a mask that they showed earlier in this film that looked similar to that style of the Zagon Studios. I guess that's how you pronounce their name. But they actually back in the I want to say the 70s. I think they were been around that long. They were, or it might have been in the 80s when they were doing it, but they were putting out a lot of like Planet of the Apes masks that looked
Right.
that were really, really super well made. And I remember talking to the guy at Horror Hound about it once, and he was saying that when they put them out, that something like they didn't have the actual license to put them out or something. So I think they had to they were listing them under different names or something like that at the time. So yeah. You see, they turned back to look at the clowns. All the heads were turned. And I think this is the part where Mac tells them that he doesn't believe in ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like, dude, how can you not believe in this stuff? All this stuff you've witnessed.
Because Tony is having a panic attack right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mac's trying to settle him down.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go past those clowns. It's not Paul, people. That's what I want to scream out. It's not Paul.
But they turn, and then there's Paul sitting against the wall. Yeah. But the question is it truly Paul? Or is it something else?
Could be something that's just taken over his body.
And it's so eerie when they're trying to like shine a light in his eyes, and then he just opens his eyes suddenly and is staring at them, and he's not saying a word. So
it's like, fuck him. It's like, dude, come on.
In that moment, you're sensing that this is not the Paul we know anymore. There's something else has come inside him or something like that.
I'd be taking those freaking clowns and burning them up or something.
I thought that was very neat that they used that as like their main kind of I guess like a villain type aspect of the film was with the clowns. Because it seems like that is something that appeals to a large amount of people that are horror fans, because look at how big, I'm not a fan of them myself, but look how big the Terrifier films are right now.
Yeah.
Look how iconic characters like Pennywise the Clown and Captain Spaulding and all that have become over the years, and has actually brought in a lot of new fans to the genre. So I don't know really what it is, but it seems like whenever clowns are introduced into a horror film, they get quite a following to it.
I think and this is just my take on it. I think because clowns are pretty much a part of everybody's childhood, whether you went to a circus or you saw them on television. And the
It's
thing
just,
is, the clowns, theoretically, they're supposed to be the good guys. They're
yeah, they're
supposed
supposed to be
to be
funny.
the
You're supposed
guys.
to feel safe around them and all that. But I think it all kind of started with the Pogo the Clown stuff with what's his name?
John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, John Wayne Gacy, like, cause he was like going and doing like the Pogo the Clown stuff at children's birthday parties and all that, and I think
Yep.
that's maybe where a lot of the inspiration came for Captain Spaulding.
Mhm. The innocence of clowns was lost probably at that point. People associating a clown with a serial killer, essentially, which was
Mhm.
what John Wayne Gacy was. He was, he was doing the children's thing, um, but he was also, killing young men, which is just so disturbing.
Yeah,
That aspect of it.
and if you go back to which, it's not a film that I will probably ever watch again,
Mhm.
but the Victor Salva film Clown House
Yeah.
and all of the controversy surrounding it, and just Victor Salva in general, and what kind of person he ended up becoming. Um, that if you look at that, that just makes the whole aspect of the clown stuff in horror even creepier, because you look at a film that was released where real things happen to these children on set.
Yeah.
It's so I think sometimes in the more modern horror, they take advantage of that history, and it's
Yeah.
business wise, it's pretty smart, even though it's kind of effed up. It's still like, because it's always knowing that history behind like movies like Clown House or the stuff with John Wayne Gacy involving clowns. It's always gonna have that creepy factor to
Yeah.
clowns and horror.
Yeah. Clowns are no longer a symbol of innocence or fun. They just can't be because there's been too much real life stuff that
Mhm.
has been in some ways or many ways replicated on film, as
And also, I forgot to mention like Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
well. Hmm.
Like, I'm sure you've noticed this too, Dana, but like Killer Clowns from Outer Space has had like this huge resurgence in fandom over the past probably maybe 5 years.
Hmm.
I think a lot of that has to do with like trick or treat, Spirit Halloween stores, and bring, and that kind of came out of nowhere too. They were just bringing back all the like a huge amount of like Killer Clowns merchandise, and now there's like a Killer Clowns video game, and you see like pop figures, and there's different like toy line companies bringing out Killer Clown stuff. Um, and I don't mean to get on a big tangent about like clowns in
No,
general
but
and
I think
horror,
the clowns are a big part of this movie, so I
but
think
yeah, and that's just the reason I brought that up, because I feel like that's one of the biggest parts of this movie and the franchise in general. Because, like I said, in the newest film that came out, the Hell House Origins, it goes in more of the backstory of that main clown dummy that we keep seeing in this film.
Menelec says clowns morphed into a horror first character in
Oh
many.
yeah, absolutely they
Yeah.
did. I'm gonna have to turn this air conditioner on because I'm burning up in here.
Now I'm getting chilly, so I was warm earlier today, but it got around 60 here today.
Well, see, it feels good in the rest of our house, but like I'm in Noah's room right now, and for some reason his house or his room is the hottest room in the house, and So thankfully, we have an air conditioner in his window, and that's the only way you can really. I mean, and it could literally be, I don't know, below zero outside, and it would still be feel like hell in this room without an air conditioner running.
I hope it ain't that hot, Chris.
It's pretty hot, Dana, but I'm also very warm blooded, so it may just be me. I don't know.
So here's something else that is central to all these found footage movies that I found, and it was central in Blair Witch Project, which is fresh in my mind because me and Steve rewatched it today. Is there's always at least one person who, no matter what happens, they want to push ahead. There's no going back. There's no, if they're doing a film or a documentary, there's no stopping it and go and trying to get out of the situation. The same thing is happening here. Some of these people want to not do this haunted house thing, but Alex, I think Alex is the main one where he just, no, we're doing this. You
Well,
know,
and you'll find out more of why he is like, he's dead set on doing this. He's trying to get everybody just to play their part, do what they're doing for the haunt. They don't go into it as much in this film. That's why I encourage anyone out there watching along with us to this to watch the rest of the Hell House films to get more of the story and the history and everything along with this Abaddon Hotel. It's one of the more interesting franchises to come out of horror in probably the past 10 years for me. I but I know not everybody's going to feel that way, but that's how I feel, and it's I'm hard pressed. I'm hard pressed to really get into any kind of more modern horror because I'm an old school horror guy through and through. From the Universal Monsters days up until like the 80s and 90s slashers and everything like that came. I'm not saying I don't like. Of course, I love a lot of like more modern 2000s, 2010s, 2020s horrors, all that. But it's just not what I have a passion for when it comes to those horror films. But this franchise of Hell is one of those rare instances where I do get so involved with them, and I don't want to say like I'm obsessed, but it's like something I have watched them over and over and over again and just kind of studied them to see if there's anything that I missed. And you can do that with many found footage films. Like you watch them over and you can study them and find things that you didn't see before. And I think that's really the appeal of them overall.
I think, yeah, the rewatchability factor is very high with these because you're like, I want to go back and watch that and see what I missed the first three times
Yeah,
I watched it or
exactly.
whatever.
And it's not just found footage films that you can do that with. There's so many just
Oh, there's just straight
they're-
horror films that
yeah,
you
just
can do.
regular horror films that I've watched where I have caught things I never caught before, and I'll find myself sometimes watching a film over just to not pay attention to the actors in the scene, but just to the background and and
Exactly.
see if there's anything that just kind of like I could pick up on. Not anything that would have anything to do with the film particularly, but just like little things like sometimes you'll see in a film they'll have like brand advertisements and stuff or like stuff on the shelves or I remember watching Silent Night Deadly Night once over, and when they were in the toy store I was just watching like the background of the shelves and stuff trying to like find what all kinds of toys that they had on their shelves. And but that's just my brain, my brain wanders a lot with anything. So
Well, mine does too. I find myself sometimes returning over and over to a particular film just to see what I can see, just like Chris said, in the background or something like that.
Same way. I don't know. I guess that's just maybe that makes us weird, Dana. But who cares?
I think it makes us true fans of the film that we do
Me
that.
too. Let's go with that. That sounds more positive.
So they've got a bunch of cameras set up at different points in the haunt. And you know what's scary? I'm seeing kids there too. And I'm not talking teenagers. There was somebody that was obviously a younger kid, and it's like, I wonder if they're going to go in there or not.
Well, that's like I was saying earlier. Like we took Noah and Raiden to Kings Islands when we went to the haunts, and they were so scared to death of that because there was one that we came out and they were literally crying. It scared them so bad.
But I wouldn't feel too bad, Chris, because I wouldn't have thought, especially for Noah, because you guys have kind of introduced Noah to the horror stuff.
Yeah.
You have slowly introduced him to stuff. It's kind of like stair steps or building blocks.
Well, I feel like he's at the age he's at now. He's fine with that. I mean, because he's watched all three of the Evil Dead, the original trilogy now, and I mean he loves Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Like I think that might be his favorite of the original three. But like I said, on Halloween this year, I finally let him watch the original Evil Dead. And I was kind of like, should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I let him watch it? I was like, I said, he's a couple of years away from being a teenager. I was about the same age when I watched the original Evil Dead. So I said, why not? And then I didn't ask Candace or anything first. I just she was at home. I was like, hey, we're watching Evil Dead. So
I'm sure Candace was okay.
I remember she came home, she's like, you're letting them watch Evil Dead? And I was like, yeah. I said, I think he's all right, though.
You would probably get a good indicator if he wasn't okay with it pretty quickly.
And I don't know if you noticed it there, but he's no longer. But when they were coming through there and they were recording, it showed the dummy sitting at a table, and behind the dummy was Paul.
Yeah.
But then they cut the camera away, and then when they cut back, he was gone. And this is pretty much so now this is the events that was happening in the basement as to why they were trying to escape. So the girl that's chained up is not acting; she's legit.
No, she's crying and she's like, "I want to get out."
This is not a part of the show, and so here are these demons or entities, whatever they are. I'm really not even sure what they are.
They're just it's almost like they're coming out of the walls. There's just a whole.
But they go into that more. Like I said, I do know what they are, what it all is about, but I just don't want to give that away. Because like I said, if you've not seen the rest of the films,
you're right.
Then I'm going to spoil it for you if I tell you what's going on.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that here on Dead Ice on Deck. We want hopefully the people that have never seen this one before will be intrigued enough that they go back
absolutely. Because I would love to hear people that's watching along with us, their thoughts on the other films, that in the franchise if they've not seen those already. Because I love talking to people that has also seen these films and just hearing their thoughts on it too. Because and as many people as I've talked to, everybody usually has a difference of opinion on this film and the rest of the films in the franchise. I've talked to several people that love it like I do. I've talked to people that absolutely hate them.
I haven't ever talked to anybody that absolutely hated it, but my circle is kind of small, I guess I should say, of the people that I talk to. So, like talking to Chris and Candace,
Mhm.
a lot of the movies I like, they like. There's a few of them that they don't.
Well, my circle per se, I don't really have a huge circle of like that are like my close friends or anything. But I am in a lot of like horror groups on Facebook, and like I'm a part of a found footage films group, and there's a lot of like discussion of just just found footage films in general on that group. And Hell House has been a particular topic that's came up a lot on that group. And like I said, I don't personally know these people that I'm talking to,
Right.
but I have seen a lot of them say that they don't they think the Hell House films are dumb, they're not entertaining or anything like that. But I love them, and here go and this is one of the reasons I love because it goes back to here we see Alex is being hanged up in the attic, and that's what I was
Right.
talking about earlier. Like you need to you pay attention to the details of these locations and like the pattern of events because as you know, Andrew Tully hanged himself. Joey hanged himself 9 days after the events, and then here we see on the night of Alex has been hanged as well.
Oh, well, Russell, I'm glad. Russell says kind of like this for a first found footage film. And Russell, he's honest, and I'm glad that he's honest. A lot of these found footage films that we watched, he says, this ain't really my cup of tea, but he keeps trying them. If I do a watch
And I,
along for
and
him,
I love that. I love that. I'm the same way, Russell. Like I will, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Dana, but I was
oh, no,
just
that's
saying that. But I'm the same way. I may not particularly. I may go into a film thinking I don't know if I'm really the one like this or not.
right.
I may not. This may be awful, but I have been wrong so many times, and I love that part of it when I'm wrong because then I actually end up do liking the film.
Right.
Um,
Find a new film to watch and stuff.
so I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that you like it, Russell.
I was kind of like that with Eli Ross Thanksgiving. I went into the theater with an open mind with that one, but I still had in the back of my mind all the Eli Roth films that I didn't like.
Well,
But I was pleasantly surprised with that one.
that's very, and I've still not watched Thanksgiving yet, but that's very understandable to feel that way, especially when he has a history of having kind of controversial like films. Well, not really controversial films, but like people that have watched the films, opinions are kind of been divided. And the ones that don't like them have had some like really awful things to say about his films. Like I like Cabin Fever, but I'm not
I
crazy
like
about
Cabin
it.
Fever. Yeah, I'm like you are. I'm not absolutely crazy over it, but I can watch it.
But the Hostel films, I'm not a fan
No,
at
no.
all. The film he did, Green Inferno, not crazy about it. But one thing I will say about Eli Roth is I do like when he plays a role in a film. I think he's not the best actor ever was, but he's very entertaining to watch. If you've seen Inglorious Bastards, he has a very awesome role
Yeah.
in that. And I thought he did a great job. I think his parts in Cabin Fever are hilarious. But I can completely understand why you're saying that, Dana, because like he's had that history, so you're not sure what's going to make this film any different. But I've heard all really good things about Thanksgiving, so I'll need to watch that eventually. I might watch it on actual Thanksgiving this year.
So I wanted to point this out. So they have been talking to Sarah, who is basically the lone survivor of the main crew. So the reporter or whoever it is that was talking to her says, hey, the girl in room 2C, tell her we had to leave and we'll be right back. And the woman's like, well, we don't have rooms listed like that.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a woman named Sarah listed as being there. And so that's another piece in the puzzle
Mhm.
as well.
And as she was telling them, as she the last time that they talked to Sarah, that she was encouraging this film crew that we're seeing now to go back to the Abaddon Hotel to kind of see it for themselves.
Right.
And then right now, this is them actually going through the hotel, I believe.
That is okay, Russell. He says, sorry, love the Hostel films except the third one. That's what I want Deadites on Deck to be, though. I want it to be a place where people don't have to be afraid to say, hey, I like that film. Even if me and Chris or whoever else is on here with me hate it, I want you guys to feel comfortable to say that you like something. So you don't have to be sorry, Russell. If you like them, you like them or love them or whatever.
But I'm sorry, I was mistaken. We haven't got to that part yet where the film crew actually goes to check. And this is
this is
this is the footage we're seeing that after the fact when they had left, and one of the crew that we'll see that we saw at the beginning of the film and we'll see at the end that was interviewing Sarah. He stayed behind to see this footage where Sarah, as you can see, is being attacked, and she's laying there pretty much fighting for her life. So that leaves the viewer to wonder, like, wait a minute, if this happened to her, how are they talking to her in this interview?
I always like shots where somebody gets dragged off camera too. Those are creepy.
And then this is where, like, Paul, he's like, well, we'll see. I don't want to give it all what's about to happen.
I really enjoyed watching this one again. But I'm going to have to go back and watch it with the sound again, too, because I really...
You see Paul, he picks up a shard of glass. I believe that's what that was on the ground. And so it just shows his feet at first, but then he starts to come down and you can see he sliced his throat. And in that moment when he does that, he's conscious. So that whatever that was inside of him has now exited, and he is there to suffer with experiencing his own death.
So now we're back to the part where
with the film crew that was interviewing Sarah. So they're making their way now, as they were advised by Sarah to go and check out the Abaddon Hotel themselves. So there
would be no way. I mean, like, no.
I believe the guy that stayed behind that looked at the footage, I believe his name is Mitchell. So he is you'll see more of the character of Mitchell that stayed behind to look at the footage in Hell House 2. So like I said, if you've not seen these films before, please watch all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
To kind of get a full understanding.
These are almost films that I could see somebody binge watching.
Oh, I do it all. I've done it. Yeah.
After that.
Me and CJ has done it several times.
Chris, I've got to get you and Candace to Louisville so we can go to Waverly Hills. Like, I would even pay for y'all's tickets to go in that place. If y'all would go with me, because Steve won't go with me anymore.
I don't know. You may talk me into it one of these days.
When you and Candace feel like you're ready, we'll get a time set up, and what we'll do is we won't stay half the night or anything like that. I did that, but I don't think you guys want to do that. So
you'd probably have an easier time convincing me to do it than you would Candace.
Candace. Yeah, I could definitely see that, but I would love for both of y'all to be able to experience that. And we could go on the 2-hour tour because I got pictures of something supernatural when I went there on a 2-hour tour, and I did not see it until I was going back through my pictures on the computer.
Well, it's a good thing it wasn't a 3-hour tour, or you've been lost like Gilligan.
Yes. Oh. And so it's flashing back to Paul.
Yeah,
at
all
the end.
the important like locations throughout the hotel, and that's why I advise, like I advised earlier, like when you're watching this, to pay attention to close to all the details and the locations as you're going throughout it. Like, and I love that. I feel like, I don't know if you play many video games, Dana, but like if you
But I suck at them, Chris. So I don't.
But like, there's a lot of games that are out there called first-person shooter games where you're just kind of seeing, like you can see your gun or whatever in front of you, or whatever weapon you have in front, but you don't see the rest of the character that you're playing as. And I always kind of got that vibe with this film because, and in a lot of found footage films. And there is the room to see.
Yeah, exactly.
It's part of the hotel. And it's latched. It's funny that it's like the little hook up there at the top of the door.
Yeah.
And there's Sarah sitting on the bed.
I wouldn't be going over there, walking over there to her.
And now she looks different to them because her face is all cut up now.
Exactly.
And it ends with the piano music playing.
So if you're watching this with the sound, you will hear the eerie piano music playing.
I thought that was an excellent way to end the film.
And to this day, the tragedy at the Avedon Hotel remains a mystery to the public.
Yeah.
And we're officially at the credits. I do want to read, because I was happy that I saw this. Russell says, great stream and film. So I am glad you enjoyed it,
Great
Russell.
to hear that, Russell. I love that you enjoyed it. Like I said, this is a film that I probably watched this over time. Like I said, the first time I watched it was in 2021, and I've probably watched it at least 20 times by now.
Right.
Probably more.
I don't think I've watched it that many times, Chris, but I could definitely see it. If I just feel like I don't have time to rewatch these movies as much as I would like to.
Well, I mean,
just set aside some time to do
it's
it.
just kind of random for me, because I'm not currently doing anything on YouTube or any kind of channel of my own, so I just kind of watch whatever I want. And sometimes, a lot of times, if I have like breaks in between like calls and stuff at work, I'll have stuff playing too, like on my other phone and stuff like that. But I just this year alone, this was probably the fourth time that I've watched this film this in 2024.
Right.
I enjoyed that much, and like I said, when I got that pin of the clown dummy for CJ back at Horror,
it's just awesome though.
And as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god!" I wish I had got one for myself now too, but like I bought some other pins from that same vendor that I liked even more because I got like 3 for me, and I got that one for CJ because I ended up buying a Motel Hell one from that same vendor, and these 2 Joe Bob pins. I got one. It was like a playing card because I think it was exclusive to the Joe Bob Jamboree that previous year.
Oh yeah.
And she had made those pins, and they looked like a playing card that had like a zombie Joe Bob and Darcy on it.
Mhm.
But I wish I could remember the name of her company because I have her on Facebook too. But she has some of the best pins. Let me see if I can figure out what that is real quick because I have Facebook pulled up right here.
Okay.
I'll see. You can just while I'm looking that up, you can just go over what you need to, Dana.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Mentellect first off for picking this as a watch along because it was a blast going back and watching this. I, I want to thank Chris for offering to be on here with me as
Absolutely.
well because I tell you, it's a lot more fun to have somebody, at least one other person on here with me when I do these watch alongs. I feel like I'm when I'm by myself, I feel like I'm the boringest person on the entire planet. Uh, and people tell me I'm not, but Chris, do you ever feel that way if you're doing something like a watch on? If you were doing it by yourself, would you feel that way?
Well, so I've never done one by myself other than the time that I did like this live stream on my Facebook account.
Uh-huh.
And almost the entire time that I was doing it, I felt like I was struggling with myself to
Yeah,
keep
exactly.
people entertained. And if I was actually talking about anything that would be of interest to people. So I
Coco's in here.
it's definitely easy to feel that way about yourself. But like, but once I get on a stream talking with someone else like you or Candace or whoever, I don't have those feelings
Right,
because I have someone else to talk to.
right,
Um,
exactly.
but any of the streams that I've ever watched with you, Dana, about where you're by yourself, I've never felt an instance where I was bored or not entertained. So
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. And Coco says, you're not boring, asshead. And somebody else called me an asshead. I probably wouldn't like that, but I know that this is coming from Coco, so I don't take offense. But thank you, Coco, for saying I'm not boring. So I appreciate that a lot. And it's always good to see Coco in here. There was a time frame where Coco, I didn't see Coco a lot in here, and I'm starting to see her more in the streams. Um, she's a. I feel like Coco is an important part of the growth of my channel. You know, Chris and Candace are part of the growth of the channel. Russell is, Millelect is. Uh, you know, a lot of you guys and gals that come on a regular basis or a semi-regular basis, you're all important because you support what I'm doing. And I just want to say again, I appreciate it so much. Um, and support can come in many ways. It doesn't all have to be financial, you know, just Chris being on here with me or Candace being on here with me when she can, you know, me and Candace doing the Friday Foolish shows. Um, that's support too, you know. So I don't want anybody to ever feel like if they're not giving money to the channel that they're not supporting it because yes, you are supporting the channel. And Candace and Chris also support me financially with my shop as well because they, you know, gotten several things from me since I started my shop. So,
but I finally found that
found it.
the pen company. They're called Puncture Wound Pens. So that's
Oh, that's cool.
puncturewoundpens.com. She's very, I can't think of the girl's name that actually runs it because I've only met her that one time at the last horror hound. But she's very, very kind lady. I believe it. There's a guy with I want to say it's her husband or boyfriend, something like that. But they're both really, really cool people that run this company. They have a lot of really cool designs, pens that you can choose from on their website. They have a popcorn one on there right now of Toby that I really want. So I might get that once I can get some money to get that.
Right, exactly. Well, Coco, that's very sweet of you. Coco says, I'll support you till the end. I just have things that goes on. Oh, we all do. We all do, honey. And she says, I wish I could contribute financially to this channel. You take the time, Dana, to bring us entertainment. Well, I appreciate that. And I don't want anybody to ever feel like I said, if you can't afford to give financially, you can give other ways. You're showing support for the channel by just showing up when you can. That's definitely support of the channel. And even if you can't show up every time, because people are very busy. I'm busy. Chris is busy. Candace is busy. We all have busier times than others. Poor Candace has been. It's very. I've said over and over again to her that how proud I am that she's going back to school full time. But let me tell you guys and gals, that is a lot of work. It's like having a full time job. It's a lot of work, and Candace puts in a lot of hours. And sometimes we have to restructure things that we do together, but that's okay because everybody's life is not streamlined and things do pop up from time to time. You're very welcome, Intellect. Once again, I'm so glad that you picked Hell
Yeah,
House LLC. This was a fun one to go back and rewatch.
it was an
Uh,
excellent choice, Mentellect. I really appreciate it because, like, once I found out that you chose this, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta see if Dana will let me do that because I love
well,
it.
it's not a matter of letting Chris. You have an open invitation anytime you want to come on. But I just felt bad because, and I got to finish Candace's message a little bit later and get back to her on her message. I just listened to Chris's long enough to say he wanted to be on there. I need to finish listening to his message.
So I'm usually pretty quick with my messages to you, Dana. I mean, I don't have like 15-20 minute long messages like that Candace sent to you, but
Me and Candace send each other long messages, but that's okay. It's guys don't tend to talk long. I mean,
well, Dana, I mean, I like to talk because I think
yeah, but I think
'cause
you like to talk in person rather than on these, messaging.
it's not much difference from like this the amount of time that I use to talk when I'm on the stream with you, but like I don't know, it just feels like a lot of the time, like my mind is like everywhere, and that's why like when I send like audio messages to people on Messenger, I just stay pretty brief because
Yeah,
I don't know, like you would think that I would be okay with like talking all the time because that's basically what I do for my job. Like I work in a call center and I'm just talking all day for 8 hours of a day all day long.
exactly. Chris has to do more talking on the phones than I do.
Yeah.
I'm expected to be on the phones at some points and times, but I try to stay away from that as much as I can because not that I don't like talking to people. It's just I'm always afraid I'm going to get one of those people that's really going to ruin my day, that they're going to be in a really bad mood and that's going to ruin my whole day. Um, but
But I think you're right to some extent about me though, Dana. Like I'm more open to talking like this because we can actually see each other. We can actually see each other's, expressions when we're talking to one another. Much like, we would if we were in person doing that same thing. I think that's why, because like whenever I mean, I rarely like call my mom. Like Candace is always getting on to me. It's like, you should call your mom more.
I do that to Steve too. Have you called your mom, Steve?
Because we went and seen her today because we had Thanksgiving today at my mom's house. Because that's the only day. Today was the only day it would work out for everybody in the family to be able to be there together. But I called her. I believe it was on Friday night, and that was the first time I had called her in almost 2 weeks. But Candace just gets on to me, and she's like, "You need to call your mom every day," and I'm like, "Well, I will if I can get around to it."
There was a time when me and Steve first got married that I would call my mom just about every day, and I feel bad now that time just gets away from me. And
yeah, I mean, because I'm like, and I don't mean to be like that. It's just like once I'm off work, I'll like have planned a bunch of stuff I want to do as soon as I get off work. If I want to go play a game or watch a movie or do this or that, or I have to do something around the house, I take the trash out, clean up, whatever I need to do. And it's always in my head to like, hey, I need to call my mom, or I call my dad, or I need to call and like settle something with this company that we got going on right now, like, or if we gotta pay a bill or something. But like sometimes that stuff gets away from me in my mind, and I forget to do it. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll do it tomorrow. And then the next day will come and I'll do the same damn thing.
Exactly. I go through that. Sometimes it's all week long. I do that.
Same here.
And Steve usually, in his defense, he usually does call his mom, or she calls him on the weekends. But I don't mean to get on Steve, but he gets so irritated with his mom at times. I don't know if Chris goes through this where there are certain times where his mom just irritates him. Everything she says irritates him, but that's how Steve is.
Well, I think everybody has family members, not necessarily everybody there with their mother or their father, but I think there's always somebody that they have to deal with regularly that they might not want to talk to as much.
Right.
I'm not like that with my mom, but I mean, I can understand how some people could be, because not everybody's the same.
Right.
There may be just certain things about Steve's mom that that he particularly doesn't like, that kind of gets on his nerves. Like I have people in my life that they do get on my nerves, but and I might not want to fool with them as much, but that's how things go sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Now I think because me and Chris do have work tomorrow, and it comes early, and Chris has to work later now than he did.
Yeah, they changed my schedule, so it's like on average, it's like I go in at 10:45 and I'm working until 7:15. But I'm lucky enough to be off on weekends though, so I'm able to do stuff like this.
I'm off most weekends now. Every once in a while, I have to work 4 hours on a Saturday, but it's not too often. But what I was thinking is, if it's okay with Chris, if we go to 9:30.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then we'll call it a night, because I'm sure, because I've been sipping on this energy drink the whole movie.
Well, even though we got work tomorrow, Dana. I mean, me and you are both night owls, I think, because
that's evident by me and Candace sending messages back and forth to each other at 1 or 2.
And usually when you all send messages with one another, I'm still up at that time. So because like the other night, actually, I had work. It was on Thursday night. I had to be at work the next day, at 10:45 in the morning. But I didn't go to bed. And this is probably not a good idea, but I was able to get up. But I didn't go to bed that night before until almost 5 in the morning.
Oh, well, I've come close to that. It's been around 4 a.m. before, and I have to get up at 7:30. And of
Oh
course, I
wow.
just have to drag
Tough.
myself back to my desk, but I do have to work.
That's tough.
But it's going to be tough when it's going to be tough on me and Steve both because we're going to go to that Goblin show.
Are you going? I
Second.
hope you guys have fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be the second time for both me and Steve of singing Simon Eddie's Goblin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never got to go. I know one of the last times that they came around, they were doing. I think they were showing Demons, and they were playing all the music as the movie was being played. But I think this time around they're just doing kind of an assortment of things, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's the complete anthology or something like that is what it's called. And Steve said, "Well, I don't really want them to play music over the movie." And I said, "I don't think it's going to be that this time, Steve." I said, "I think it's going to be just kind of them jamming, which is what Steve liked because the last time we saw Simon Eddie's Goblin, they played over the movie, and then afterwards they just jammed. I mean, it was fantastic.
I would love to go, but just unfortunately, I'm not. I think that's on either a Monday or a Tuesday, and I'm not able to get off for that day because I'm not even early for the days. That way we can make it because it takes us about 3.5 hours to get to Louisville, I just maybe one of these days I'll be able. It'll be in the cards for me.
Yeah, I think it will. I think eventually everything falls into place. And if y'all do get to come to Louisville, well, by golly, I'll go again and see Goblin. I don't care.
They did come around several years ago, and a friend, I can't remember who it was, but they were able to pick up this print. It was a Suspiria print. But it had just like the Goblin logo on there, and it was like a picture of Jessica Harper, but she has like solid white eyes on the print, and it was signed by everyone in the band.
Yeah.
And I think it was Ghoulish Gary Pullen who did like the screen print of it, but I have it in there somewhere. But that's the closest I've ever, I guess, got to say meeting them. I didn't really get to meet them though. I mean, I got their autographs, but
yeah, I haven't ever got to meet them per se. But we were the last time we went to see Simon Eddie playing with his version of Goblin, we could see Simon Eddie real good from where we were sitting. I mean, it was almost like he was right there. We could see him playing all the instruments and all that stuff. So
now, like the next concert that we want to go to, like we don't know if we're going to for sure, but we want to, is Metallica is going to be in Nashville next year, and and the only reason we're wanting to go is because that's one of Noah's favorite bands, and he wants to see that. I've seen them 3 times now, and if I didn't see them again, I'd be okay with it. But since Noah has never got to see them, and he loves them, something we want to try to take him because we took him to that Judas Priest concert a couple months ago, and that was his first concert, and
I could tell he had a ball.
Oh, he had a blast! Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was great seeing Noah like in the little video clips and the pictures and all that.
Yeah, well, see what I did because that was probably my 4th time seeing Judas Priest, so I was not really watching a whole lot of the show that night. I was more focused on capturing Noah's reaction, and how what he thought of it, because I was watching him most of the time during that night because I just, that was his first time doing anything like that. I just wanted to know how much he liked it. So, and that's going to be a memory for me, forever.
Yeah, it'd be cemented in that memory bank in your in your brain.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and sometimes, you know, I don't have human children. I have fur babies. But when you have human children, I think what happens with a lot of things like holidays or concert experiences or whatever, there you reach a point where it's more about seeing how your child is reacting to whatever the event is,
Yeah.
whether it's Christmas Day and they're opening their presents, or it's a concert like the Judas Priest concert that Chris was just talking about, where they took Noah, and and how much of a blast that he was having. It's less about the parents and more about how the kid is experiencing. That gives the parents pleasure seeing their child enjoying something like that.
Yeah, and I eventually want to get him to an Alice Cooper concert too, because that's someone I've seen numerous times as well. I think it's been about 4 or 5 times since I've seen Alice Cooper now. But and that's one of my favorite shows to attend. Just not just because of Alice Cooper's music, but like his stage performance
Oh yeah.
during the concert, of all the little like gimmicks he does for each song and stuff. You know, he always does the guillotine thing where he puts and they chop his head off, um, and I, you know, Noah he's starting to get into Alice Cooper too. Like he's really into Kiss right now. He's
Yeah.
getting hardcore into Kiss and like their personas and their background and everything, and that's made me happy because that's my favorite band of all time is Kiss. But what kind of saddens me in that aspect is that he may not get to see them in concert now, because
Yeah.
this last tour was supposed to be in their very last one, and then like going on into the future, like they're kind of alluding to this, they're still going to do concerts,
Right.
but they're not. It's not them. It's kind of this like Avatar thing that they're going to be. It's
Yeah.
all like, you know, where it's not really
Kind
there.
of like artificial.
And I don't know how I feel about that,
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about something like that either.
because you're not really seeing anyone up there performing or any kind of actual talent. It's like, I mean, it's Kiss's talent, but they're just kind of, you know, they're going to be playing this stuff from recordings.
I think if you're going to go that route, I think it's time to hang up your jock.
Well,
As
I
far as
agree,
concerts, yeah.
but that's where I have to separate my, you know, my actual love for Kiss
Hmm.
from their business decisions.
Right.
And because I know Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, as much as I love those guys in Kiss, when it comes when they're in businessman mode,
Yeah,
uh, they make some questionable choices.
exactly. Yeah. And I don't know. I've never met Gene Simmons, so I don't know. But and Chris has probably already seen like the special features for the Trick or Treat 4K.
I've not actually yet.
Oh, okay.
I've not
Well,
watched the special features.
when you do, there's there's a part about Gene Simmons where it doesn't reflect very favorably on Gene Simmons. I'll just say that.
I probably won't be surprised, because I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there with Gene that, you know, he comes across as an asshole, and
Mhm.
he's not very friendly, and um, you know, I remember seeing a video years ago on early days of YouTube where this guy was like out on the street, and he saw Gene Simmons, and he was trying to like meet him and stuff and tell him what a fan he was, and I think like Gene called him like a poser or something. And that guy was like showing like his Kiss Army tattoo, and he was like, so I'm gonna get, and he was like pissed off, and he was like, I want to get this removed. I'm no longer a fan of you anymore, and all this, and so, and I think, and after like Gene saw that, he was like trying to apologize and like, oh, you know, stuff, but you know, that's why you shouldn't be an asshole to somebody to begin with,
Yeah.
because you know, you don't know. what the true intentions of people are. Or
No, exactly. That's right.
But like Gene is just out there, like as far as he gets in businessman mode and stuff, and
Yeah.
but but I've also seen positive things too. I've watched
Right.
with him
Exactly.
where there's a lot of things that I will agree with him on that he does. But I had a friend. Gene actually appeared. I want to say close to 10 years ago now at a Friday Night Film Fest there in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And because a friend of mine here in Hazard actually got to go and meet him, and he got to sign like his albums and all that. But I didn't get to go to that show. I've only ever met one original Kiss member, and that was Ace Frehley. Me and Candace
Mm-hmm.
met him at the very first Days of the Dead show back in
Right.
2011.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
but yeah, he actually Ace about a year or two ago. He actually came to Hazard and played
Wow.
here in Hazard. So that was awesome.
That's cool. But guys and gals, it has been fun. It's been fun having Chris on here. It's been fun talking to all you guys and gals in the chat. And I want to say thank you once again to Chris for being my co-host as we navigated through Hell House LLC. It's been a blast going back and watching this film again. Thank you, Mentallect, once again, if you're still in here, for picking the film. And I want to remind y'all, any live stream I do, you can give a $5 super chat or more, and you can get to throw your hat in the ring to pick a watch along. You can even make me watch something I hate, which would be probably immensely entertaining to watch me try to navigate through something I hate. So you're welcome to say, "Oh, Dana absolutely hates this movie." Okay, I paid my $5 and I was the only one. You got to do the watch along for this, and I will be as good as my word. I will do it.
That's very rare for you, though, Dana, to actually hate a movie.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who you ask. If you ask Steve, he'd probably say Dana hates a lot of stuff.
Well, I personally don't know many films that you hate, but I mean, you could surprise me.
And people probably think Dana likes a lot of shit too. The other stuff that people
I like a lot of
like.
shit, I mean, that's just, I think that's the deal with everybody. Everybody has their own things they like. They may not be the most popular things or the most successful things, but it is what it
But
is.
you like what you like, and everybody's not going to like everything the same. Um, so that's why I try to give people a break, and I don't want to get into arguments with people because
Yeah.
where is that going to get you, getting into arguments with people over a movie? If you like it, you like it. If you hate it, you hate it. The world will go on. It's not going to stop just because somebody hates or loves a certain film. So but I guess we'll tie all this up with a nice, neat little bow, or try to. And I'm going to try to get some rest tonight. I don't know. I really wanted to make my mom's candle tonight, but I don't know if I'm going to do that or wait. I just got to get it done by Thanksgiving because I got to bring it to her. So
Time's ticking, Dana. No.
I know, tick tock, tick tock. It's ticking away. Um, it's time, like on Halloween 3. But anyway, me and Chris are off like a couple of dirty shirts. These shirts aren't dirty. I know Chris's shirt ain't dirty, but
It's brand new.
this one is not brand new, but it's kind of newly printed for
Well,
me.
this is kind of brand new. I mean, I this is the first time I've wore this shirt. I got this at Scarefest last month, so.
Oh, that works. That works. And you can pick up this design as well as many others And you can get it on a tote bag too. I mean,
And you can get custom work done. If you don't like that image, you can get whatever you want pretty
yeah,
much.
you could get your grandbabies on a shirt, or your children, or your pets, whatever you want. But I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. And I've been saying this almost every time. And yes, you too can get a shirt with that design on it and that phrase, as well as many others. And like Chris said, I do custom work. So if you don't like anything that's on the shop site, fill out the form on my site at deaditesondeck.com and tell me what you would like to see or what you would like to have on a shirt or a hat. If you have a certain candle scent, what you would like on a tote bag, a mouse pad. There are many different options. Just fill out that form and it will go straight to my email, and I will take a look at it and I'll get back in touch with you and see what we can get fixed up for you. So me and Chris are out of here for the night, but we'll see everybody next time. Good night, folks. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and let's get through these first 3 days of the work week and enjoy our Thanksgiving holiday. Eat a lot of food because the calories don't count on Thanksgiving. People are probably saying, yeah, right. They don't count on Thanksgiving. But have a good time. Don't try not to worry about stuff. Spend quality time with your family or friends or whoever you're sharing your Thanksgiving with, even if it's your spouse or your pet or whatever. Make sure you spend it with somebody, though, because we don't want anybody to be lonely this Thanksgiving. So we are out of here, but y'all have a good night. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.